Hello, everyone. Welcome back to my channel, Mormonism with the Murph, where we do a fair and objective analysis of the church's truth claims, its history, doctrine, and policy. So, we've been doing a multi-episode series on Joseph Smith's polygamy. In part 8, we had a look at D&C 132 and Emma Smith. When did she know about polygamy? We had a look at the revelation in D&C 132. We had a look at some of the warnings and threats given to Emma. We had a look at sort of like the context and also maybe some of the contradictions or issues critics would point to and some faithful responses. Go back and watch that video if you haven't watched it. In this episode, we're going to be looking at some of Joseph Smith's public denials that he practiced polygamy. So let's dive in. So in the church's gospel topics essay, they acknowledge the rumors prompted members and leaders to issue carefully worded denials. A lot of these rumors came from particularly people like John C. Bennett, who sort of was excommunicated and apostatized and was claiming that Joseph Smith was involved in spiritual wifery. So they issued carefully worded denials that denounced spiritual wifery and polygamy, but were silent about what Joseph and others saw as divinely mandated celestial plural marriage. The statements emphasize that the church practiced no marital law other than monogamy, while implicitly leaving open the possibility that individuals under direction of God's living prophet might do so. Now, the church would categorize these as carefully worded denials. One could see them as very deceptive because they were saying that they knew of no other order of marriage than what's in the Revelations. They were claiming that polygamy was illegal, and we'll actually have a look at some of those denials themselves. And it's very hard to justify them, but it's good that the church acknowledges these in their essay. So did Joseph Smith ever publicly teach the doctrine of plural marriage? It is true that Joseph did not always tell others about plural marriage. One critic of the church claims Joseph Smith publicly lied about his practice of polygamy and lied to his own wife, Emma, about the practice. This comes from Fair Mormon. So yes, Joseph, he wasn't forthright, but let's look at what was polygamy in the eyes of the law. So most of Joseph Smith's polygamous marriages occurred in Illinois in the early 1840s. The Illinois anti-bigamy law, enacted in February 12th of 1833, clearly stated that polygamy was illegal. I'll read it to you. It says, bigamy consists in the having of two wives or two husbands at one and at the same time, knowing that the former husband or wife is still alive. If any person or persons within the state being married, or who shall hereafter marry, do at any time marry any person or persons, the former husband or wife being alive, the person so offending shall, on conviction thereof, be punished by a fine, not exceeding $1,000, and imprisoned in the penitentiary, not exceeding 2 years. It shall not be necessary to prove either of the said marriages by the register or certificate thereof, or other record evidence, but the same case may be proved by such evidence as is admissible to prove a marriage in other cases. I'll leave the quote there. But yes, polygamy or having more than one wife or one husband was considered illegal under Illinois law, which is obviously probably one of the reasons why Joseph Smith denied that he and others were practicing polygamy. So Fair Mormon says that many have criticized or been concerned by the secrecy with which Joseph instituted plural marriage without appreciating the realities of the dangers involved. Illinois law only criminalized adultery or fornication if it was open. Since Joseph was sealed to his plural wives for either eternity or for time and eternity, he did not view these relationships as constituting adultery or fornication. Therefore, under Illinois law, as long as Joseph and his plural wives did not live in an open or public manner, they were not guilty of breaking any civil law then in force in Illinois. Furthermore, this reality explains some of Joseph Smith's public denials. Since he could be truthfully said not to be guilty of the charges leveled against him, he was not committing adultery or fornication. I have to admit, I don't like this response. They're pretty much saying that because Joseph Smith was not public, that he had plural wives or multiple wives, it therefore wasn't breaking the law. So they're pretty much saying the fact that he was doing this secretly and hiding it, he therefore wasn't breaking the law. I think this is not a good response. I think if Joseph was being accused of adultery, he may have believed that this wasn't adultery, that these were genuine marriages and sealings. But really, I think that this is just a stretch to say that he didn't see it as illegal if they were keeping it secret. The reality was Joseph Smith was practicing polygamy and he publicly denied it and it was illegal. I don't think there's really a good way around this. But let's have a look at some of his denials. So as late as 1844, Joseph continued to deny his involvement in polygamy, despite having well over 40 wives at this moment. He says, I had not been married scarcely 5 minutes and made one proclamation of the gospel before it was reported that I had 7 wives. I wish the grand jury would tell me who they are, whether it will be a curse or a blessing to me. I am quite tired of the fools asking me what a thing it is for a man to be accused of committing adultery and having 7 wives when I can only find one. I am the same man and as innocent as I was 14 years ago, and I can prove them all perjurers. In this statement, Joseph is really making it seem that he's being falsely accused, that he's a victim. I've been accused of having 7 wives. I can only find one, and that he's really making it seem like he's innocent and that he doesn't have more than one wife. And really, I don't see this as a carefully worded denial, but really him publicly denying and lying about being a polygamist. Now, in fairness, I can understand. I'm human. Um, I wouldn't want to openly acknowledge that I was breaking the law, but at the same time, this isn't the honesty that we're taught in the church. In the 13th article of faith, we're told we believe in being honest, and I think we just need to be upfront that Joseph publicly denied it. But let's look at some of the more statements. So there's more denials on polygamy, not just this one account. So in the history of the church, there's a great noise in the city, and many are saying there cannot be so much smoke without some fire. Well, be it so. If the stories about the Joe Smith are true, then the histories of John C. Bennett are true about the ladies of Nauvoo. And he says that the ladies Relief Society are all organized of those who are to be the wives of Joseph Smith. Ladies, you know whether this is true or not. So Joseph Smith, again, is really making it seem that here are these accusations that I have many wives. You know whether this is true or not. These are all just silly accusations. Inasmuch, so this comes from the Times and Seasons in September 1842. Inasmuch as the public mind has been unjustly abused through the fallacy of Dr. Bennett's letters, we make an extract of the subject of marriage, showing the role of the church on this important matter. So this is the role or the position of the church. All extract is from the book of the Doctrine and Covenants and is the only role allowed by the church. All legal contracts of marriage made before a person is baptized into this church should be held sacred and fulfilled. And inasmuch as this Church of Christ has been reproached with the crime of fornication and polygamy, we declare that we believe that one man should have one wife and one woman but one husband, except in the case of death when either is at liberty to marry again. It is not right to persuade a woman to be baptized contrary to the will of her husband, neither is it lawful to influence her to leave her husband. So again, they're reinforcing their prior statement in the Doctrine and Covenants that their position and the role of the church is monogamy, and that it is a crime to practice polygamy and adultery under Illinois law, and the church does not practice it, although publicly and secretly, Joseph and some of his associates were practicing it. So more denials. This comes from the Times and Seasons in 1844. And I believe, so this was an article published, and it says, I'm just going to read part of it. It says, I send to you that man teaches false doctrine. There is no such doctrine taught here, neither is there anything such practiced here. And any man that is found teaching privately or publicly any such doctrine is culpable and will stand a chance to be brought before the High Council and lose his license and membership also. Therefore, he had better beware what he is about. And this is regard to the doctrine of plural marriage. So, what are some faithful responses to this? So coming from Fair Latter-day Saints, keeping the doctrine private was also necessary because of the enemies of the church. They would have used it as another justification for their assault on the saints. Orson Hyde looked back on the Nauvoo days and indicated what the consequences of disclosure would have been. In olden times, they might have passed through the same circumstances as some of the Latter-day Saints had to in Illinois. What would it have done for us? If they had known that many of us had more than one wife when we lived in Illinois, they would have broken us up, doubtless, worse than they did. It is thus important to realize that the public preaching of polygamy or announcing it to the general church membership, thereby informing the public by proxy, was simply not a feasible plan. Okay, I understand. Yes, that would have done a lot of harm to the church. They would have been imprisoned. The church probably might have been broken up. So they're seeing as that justifies them lying or covering up that they're practicing polygamy. But at the same time, is that morally right? Is it ethical for them to hide an illegal practice that they were doing, whether or not, it was commanded of God or not? But you could have the interpretation, oh, they were in a predicament because they're being commanded by God to do it, but it's illegal in the eyes of the law. But then somebody might think, well, would God command you to do an illegal, to practice something which violates the law? And again, the 12th article of faith says that we believe in honoring and sustaining the law, but these saints were breaking it. So, critical summary. I hope these examples make clear that these were not carefully worded denials, as the church states in their essay, but outright lies to keep both his first wife, Emma, and the church unaware of what Joseph Smith was teaching in secret. If the church wants to claim that the lying was justified because it was for God, they should be upfront and state it, because what it is in the essay is a deceptive statement premised on using technicalities and weasel words to keep members from realizing just how dishonest Joseph Smith was to both his wife and the members of the church. And again, yeah, they're trying to say that they were carefully worded denials. Really, I think when you look at the quotes, they're making it very explicit. The church does not practice polygamy. I am innocent. We only believe in monogamy. I don't have many wives. I'm being falsely accused. And then when you realize that Joseph Smith did have around 30 wives at the time, there's really no way to reconcile it other than that they lied. They lied about it and kept it secret. So this is what they have to say: a carefully worded denial. A review of Joseph's remarks in light of the circumstances under which they were spoken shows that Joseph's words were carefully chosen. In the speech, Joseph was specifically reacting to the indictments for perjury and adultery that were presented by the grand jury the day earlier. Thus, when Joseph affirmed during the same speech, "I am innocent of all these charges," he was particularly refuting a claim that he and Maria Lawrence had openly and notoriously cohabited, thus committing the statutory offence of adultery. He was also refuting the perjury charge. While the overall tone of Joseph's remarks may seem misleading, and I think they are, it is understandable that Joseph would have taken pains to dodge the plural marriage issue. By keeping his plural marriage in Nauvoo secret, Joseph effectively kept them legal, at least under the Illinois adultery statute. And again, I think this is a weak response. I think it's misleading. It's only illegal if it's known. So keeping it secret means it's not known. It's still illegal to me, and he was still publicly denying it. So my conclusion, Joseph Smith denied on multiple occasions, publicly and in signed affidavits by others who were also practicing polygamy, that he was not a polygamist or had spiritual wives or plural wives. Apologists claim that these were carefully worded denials, as Joseph didn't believe they were adulterous affairs, and that it wasn't the spiritual wife system that Bennett accused him of. From an objective perspective, Joseph, he wasn't honest about it. He hid the practice from the church membership as a whole and from his wife for a long period of time. Polygamy, it was illegal, so publicly announcing the practice of polygamy would have gotten the church leaders in trouble with the law, so I can understand why. But really, those public denials make it seem like, oh no, we don't practice polygamy at all. These are all false accusations. So for me, I find his denials about practicing polygamy probably one of the most troubling parts of the history, because Joseph strongly advocated being innocent, but yet we know these accusations are true. It does call into question, can we trust Joseph Smith? Is he, if he's being dishonest in this circumstance, has he been honest the whole way through? Can we trust his claims? And I think this is certainly, for me, one of my biggest concerns with polygamy, is that it was publicly denied and lied about. So in the next episode, we're going to be looking at some of the accusations made by John C. Bennett in part 10. We're going to be looking at Sarah Pratt, and we're going to be looking at some faithful responses to that. If you've enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe. You can follow me on my Facebook page, Mormonism with the Murph, and please watch my next videos. And if you care to donate, you can to my PayPal, stephen.murphy1996@outlook.com, if you want to keep this content going. I'm trying my best to be as fair and objective and trying to share both sides of the argument. I really hope that you enjoy what I'm sharing. And I'll see you all in the next video. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.